When you break up with someone, that pain that you feel is terrible, but then if you surrender to that pain, the next relationship that you have might be far better.
Pain creates innovation as well.
I've learnt that to listen to my gut way more than my head, way more.
And as I said, always come to a solution. I think that's the biggest thing. If you don't have a solution, then you don't leave the room, and that's it.
Even at the darkest moment, we still had faith.
Hello and welcome to Unstoppable. I'm your host, Kerwin Ray, and today, oh my God, are we unstoppable? Because we got Acai in the system. The Acai Brothers, Ben Day and Sam Carson. These boys opened the Acai Brothers back in 2014 of October, and they've grown their stores to over 20 stores nationally. The brand focuses on a healthy way to eat out as a community, but as well as lifestyle and fitness, and these boys have done some incredible stuff. Not only is Acai Brothers Australia's fastest growing superfood bar franchise, but these boys have also been named as the top 40 under 40 Brisbane's most influential young entrepreneurs in 2017. Background in professional sports before getting into business, and they share all of the ups, all of the downs, and everything in between. And for those of you who are looking for really different insights into the connection between sport, the resilience that's required and how to build that resilience, this is one you're not going to want to miss. Check it out. Acai Brothers, Ben Day and Sam Carson. This episode is brought to you by Nail It and Scale It, the world's leading fast growth program for businesses. If you have ever wanted to grow your business faster than what you can right now, if you need to make more revenue, if you need more leads, if you need more clients, if you need to know how to plan your business in a strategic way in order to hit big goals, if you need to learn how to scale your business and grow your team and your business so that you have more freedom, then this program is for you. Imagine 3 days immersed with me where we cover all aspects of business, but we do it from an immersive but also an execution standpoint. We execute every step of the way. And we're looking at 5 key areas. We're looking at your psychology. We're looking at your marketing, your sales, your leadership, and we're looking at your planning and how we integrate these 5 key areas to grow your business and your brand quickly. So if you'd like to find out more information, kerwinray.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and pleasure to welcome back to Unstoppable. These boys have actually been here before, but there's a bit of a story to go with this. Ben Day and Sam Carson from Acai. Boys, welcome to Unstoppable.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys.
Now, there's a bit of a story here. We had you guys in here, 2 years ago almost, and we recorded, we should say this, the most epic podcast in the history of all podcasts.
I would say so.
And then we had a server crash, and we lost like 40 fucking podcasts, and yours was in there. I was okay with the other 39 when I found out yours was gone.
Stop it, Kerwin.
Mainly because we're from Brisbane. And
trauma,
it's a big,
PTSD, re-onset, it's all happening.
We were gutted, man. We were like, he obviously didn't like
Yeah,
our
we
podcast.
actually thought that. Yeah, we had no idea.
Sort of shit, because we record so many,
Yeah.
we release them at different times, and everyone gets fucking sensitive. Like, did I say something to offend you?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, well, it's coming, but
We were so excited, and we just kept looking.
is it there? Is it there?
We were very
So, as we've just discussed, I think there's a bit of a theme here for everyone in the room that where you do something the second time, it's always better. Measure twice, cut once. So I'm super excited because I know a lot's happened in the last couple of years as well.
Yep.
But where I really want to go, and look, I'm actually going to remove the previous interview from my mind. I'm just going to start afresh. But you boys have a really interesting history. How far does it go back? Because you guys have, let's just talk Acai for a moment. You guys, Acai Brothers has been going since when?
2014.
Acai
October
Brothers?
2nd, we
Right.
opened the store.
And you guys have built it up to how many stores
20
now?
We have 20 stores.
Over 20
yeah.
stores now.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty incredible story. And I'm seeing, and I seem to just, wherever I go, your stores seem to be there.
That's good.
But where did you guys come together?
Gosh, it was a long time ago. To be honest, Sam and I come from a place in the Redlands, so it's if anyone's been out that way in Brisbane, it's a very small community, and everyone seems to know everyone, and we both grew up in a sporting background. So, Sam and I, we competed against each other in track and field and other sports. And I think when you're in a small community and you're quite well known in that area of
How old were you when you boys connected?
gosh,
Oh, we would have been...
maybe 10, nearly 12.
Yeah,
Like that's when I remember sort of
We're
like
29, 30 now,
I remember watching
so-
him run and being like, this
Yeah.
kid is ridiculously fast. And I don't
Really?
ridiculously fast.
Stop it,
Ridiculously
Benny.
fast. But yeah, that's sort of where we remember each other from. As I said, a very small community. So I think that if you're quite well known, mainly for sport, I think we breed a lot of good athletes out that area, and also a lot of young entrepreneurs.
True.
Funnily enough, that come from that area. What we've seen in Brisbane anyway. So we knew each other growing up through the sporting industry, and then it wasn't probably till we were about 2021 when we started opening our gym, and that's when we sort of really connected. It was actually through our partners at the time, which are our girlfriends.
Right.
So every year we used to go to Noosa for Christmas, and one year this kid popped in. He came in a little bit later than me with his partner, and ever since then we spent every Christmas together and started getting closer and closer. That's where more of a friendship sort of built. So
Right.
yeah.
So up until that point, you guys were friends, but
Exactly.
not
A lot
close
more
friends.
acquaintances,
Yeah,
you know.
got it.
So I think
We
it was
were-
one of those
we were
things.
track competitors.
Yes, yeah.
You were competitors.
Yes, competitors, exactly.
And I think one of the main reasons why we connected was purely for the fact that we both love sport. We're pretty competitive. We both love business. We're pretty driven people.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
can see that you guys have a real synergy.
I think one of the reasons why we definitely connected was because we're pretty similar people.
Yeah,
You know, we're
right.
both driven people. We both love sport, and I think we're very alike. And,
I think we wouldn't be in business this long, you know, if we weren't, you know, quite similar in a way or understood each other really well and built that relationship.
Well, it's interesting because you both sound like you've got a pedigree in competitiveness, but there's a high level of team collaboration between you guys as well.
Yep.
Yeah, straight away. Like, you know, very rarely do you see partnerships actually work.
Yeah.
Because it's very rare that you see two people have the same vision for a certain idea.
Yep.
So it's been an amazing 5 years. We've had our run-ins every now and then, but we've made it the commitment when we're in the boardroom. That problem gets solved whether we like it or not, and we have to hug it out before we walk out.
Yeah, right.
Always a
And
hug.
so, you know, we know each other in like the ins and outs. We know each other better than ever.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, business has taught us that. So you know, it's been an amazing 5 years and happy days.
You know, it's so interesting. I think that's something that a lot of people neglect in the partner side. They go into a partnership with someone they don't know, which is essentially like married at first sight.
It is.
Which is a nightmare.
Fucking, it is. It's one of the highest
toothbrushes,
rating TV shows for a fucking reason because it's nothing but comedy and drama. But you guys actually, you guys dated, married, spent some time together before you even got into business in the first place. And I think that's a really good point. Because there's an old saying: the only partnership that's destined to sink is the only ship that's destined to sink is a partnership.
Yeah, I think like for us, communication is absolutely everything. Like we can read each other now, like when something's not right. So for us, it's about communicating that point and making sure that we solve that point before we move to the next task.
Put your ego aside. I think that, I think people lie when they say no one has an ego. I think everyone has an ego. And I think especially people that, are successful and that are driven and everything that we're trying to achieve as well, you can't help but have a little bit of it. I think that we've just learnt to put that aside and listen to each other. And as I said, always come to a solution. I think that's the biggest thing. If you don't have a solution, then you don't leave the room, and that's it.
So you guys, you started competing against each other around 10, and it was around 18, 19, did you say, when you opened your first gym?
Yeah, so both of us opened around the same time.
But you had separate gyms?
We did. We had separate
yeah.
gyms.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I went down the path of 24/7 commercial gym. So
Right.
Snap Fitness, I was a franchisee of Snap Fitness, and Benny went down the path of owning a very athlete-specific gym out in Capalaba.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we started in the gym industry at around 19, and that's sort of where that was where we had the commonalities when we first sort of ran back into each other with our partners at the time. That was that common middle ground, and we saw each other, for who we were in terms of one coming from the sporting background and moving into business, and then seeing the success that we were having in business at the time. I think that's sort of where we got that connection.
And so what happens next? You've got your 24/7 gym, you've got your specialized athletes clinic. How does it evolve and develop from there?
Yeah, so I guess going back a little bit, obviously Sam and I were professional athletes before that.
So where were you guys professional sportsmen at?
So I was a baseball player, so I played overseas in the US,
right.
and then
Yes.
Sam was a track athlete, so he was an Australian
Yeah.
track sprinter, so 400 hurdler.
It was about 20 kilos lighter
Yeah, right.
than what I am now.
And about 4 seconds faster.
Oh,
maybe even faster.
mate, on that, I did a couple of rounds of 400s the other day, and it was an absolute joke. I was like, I really need to hit the track again.
Yeah, wow. So you were a 400-meter runner.
400-meter hurdler. Ooh.
God,
Talk
man.
about lactic acid.
But that says a lot about who you guys are. Because that's a tough race. Like that's probably one of the toughest.
It would be the
sprint
toughest,
race.
I think.
Yeah, like because you're not only doing 400, but you're jumping over shit. Like what the fuck's wrong with
when
you?
you get to that 300 mark and you have 100 meters to go and you have 3 hurdles left, that's when you start to question everything.
Life, parents. Yeah, right. But it's and baseball, like that's a bit of a slog, especially in this country to play a professional level in the US. That's not an
definitely.
easy feat.
It's a weird sport to probably take up. I think that I started in the AFL because that was my dad's background, and he did some preseason stuff with Geelong when he was younger, and I was sort of destined to play AFL, it seemed. But I sort of picked up any sport when I was younger and was decently good at it. And I think that I got injured when I was about 12 or 13 playing footy for Queensland at the time. And a friend across the road was playing baseball, and I couldn't play any contact sports. So I was like, well, I'll play baseball. And
but you were already an elite athlete before you started
I was
playing
a good
baseball.
AFL player at the time, and I think that as I said, I was pretty capable at most sports when I picked them up. And so I started playing baseball and then just never went back to footy, just kept playing until I got to the point where I got, drafted to go play in the independent leagues in America.
So what was it about the track for you and baseball for you? Because these are professions, and any athletic profession is fucking painful and rigorous. But what was it about that attracted you to want to pursue that career at that time in your life?
Oh, I think you can bring a lot over from professional sport to business. So
no question.
Track and field taught...
I'm going to get to that. I'm more interested. And I want to talk you.
Yeah.
Like, what was the attraction? Because one of the things I see Forbes did a research in 1992 where they identified the Fortune 500 companies, all their CEOs, and they identified the top 3% of the top 5% of CEOs of all Fortune 500 companies for like 80 years. And they discovered 3 characteristics that they all shared. They all had a background in either military, professional or high-level competitive sports or martial arts, which, without description, that says a fucking lot already. But what I'm curious is because a lot of people go, well, I tried to do this sport and I couldn't. And what I've noticed is there's a difference in people that stick to things than people who don't. There's an intrinsic something, and I'm curious, what was yours? What was it that made you pursue something so difficult when you could have fucking played video games?
100%. Yeah. I never was a video gamer.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know why, but I really should probably... I want to dabble in that space, but I just don't know where to start. Maybe I'm too old now.
I'll get you an Xbox.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Because my fiance is not getting me one. Look, I think for me, when I hit 19 years of age, I did track for 12 years. And so when I hit 19, I was like... My coach at the time, which was my mum, she was like, hey, can you do one more lap, please? And then we can finish training. And I said, nah, I can't do one more lap. And it was at that point, I'm like, I need to give up track and field.
Wow.
And so it was at that point, that weekend, I remember going, plain as day, I remember going to the local jewelry store, buying her a diamond ring and giving her that diamond ring and saying, thank you so much for the last 12 years. I really appreciate it.
That was to mum?
To mum.
Oh, what a son.
What a son. But
God.
But also I was like
it's
her
like
own...
elastic panties melting everywhere right now.
Yeah, it was terrible. And so then from there, I was like, I have all this energy, I have all this love and passion and energy that I need to give to something. What can that be?
Yeah.
And then I found this love in year 10 when I was 15 years of age for business.
Yeah.
And so then I started to do that transition.
Early.
I found it in year 10.
Okay. And how did that come on your radar?
Well, we did a business class at Ormiston College in the Redlands, and I remember it plain as day. You had to create an idea, and I can't remember the idea. I really should look into that. Created an idea and executed the idea. And for me, it blew me away how you can have something in your head, then execute the idea, and then actually have people buy that product from you. Like believe in your product. For me, that still blows me away today when customers walk into our stores. Yeah. And so I fell in love with that process. I fell in love with idea creation and execution and then giving back to the community. Just fell in love with that.
Wow.
So I think that was where I found the transition. I had all this,
that's so young,
all this energy and structure.
I think that's what it is. I think you're like a little bit ADD when you're younger and you've got all this energy and like you just find that sometimes sport is that way to express it and to get it out of your body. I think I was the same as well. And then once you start to taste success and once you're quite good at something, all you want to do is continue to master it more and more and more. And I think that's where, sport and baseball and all the other sports that I played, that's where I kept going because I just wanted to be a master at it. I wanted to be the best at it, and no one was going to tell me otherwise.
What was it about the pursuit that you really lit you up, though? What was it about that made you go, fuck it, I'm willing to put the extra effort in? Because I know it's going to be the same stuff that drives you today.
Yeah,
but I'm just curious how it developed.
Definitely. I think that, as I said, I think that once you find that you're good at something, and for me in particular, I double down on it really, really hard, and I get obsessed with it. I think it's like an obsessive nature that, like, once I get slightly good at something, I have to be a professional at that. Do you know what I mean? I think it was that pursuit of perfection on everything that I did, and it just so happened that I was very good at sport. So every time I put my attention to something in sport, I just succeeded. So that ability to continue to
But was it always
exceed,
that way?
Yeah, it was pretty much always that way for me.
The moment you got on a track, the moment you picked up something, you were just fucking good at it.
I was genuinely pretty good at it. I think you can ask most of the kids I played sport with. I think that I started doing things when I was like 4 years old.
Well, that's fucked for me.
It's not even that. I think that as well, like I was obsessive though. Like, so it was like to the point where it was just like, as soon as you said that you're not good at that, and I was like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to be the best at this. So
did your parents ever force either of you to do sport?
You see, like, that's the thing. Like, I had the best upbringing ever. Like,
I can tell.
Yeah, man. Like, I come from a loving father and a loving mother and an amazing sister who's 3 years younger than me. And like, they never told me what to do, ever. It's like, you do you, and if you need help, I'm here. And so like, that's my upbringing.
Wow.
That was it, man. Like,
Wow.
and even today, like even when I still have issues with AB or whatever it might be, like small minor issues, they're still there.
Yeah.
Even though they've never built a business before, they have no idea about business at all. They're still there as a shoulder to lie my head on. And so, yeah, forever grateful for them. Yeah.
And so your parents played a big role as well, by the sounds?
Yeah, same. Dad, as I said, Dad came from a sporting background, so I think that was natural for me to go into sport in some way or another. And it was just like, as I said, he was AFL. That's why I started playing AFL. But as soon as I moved to baseball, it was funny. My dad had never touched a baseball in his life, never played before. But then he became, the head of Brisbane South region of, director of sport for baseball. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just the type of guy that would just do anything for me in terms of the sport. And mum was just like the biggest cheerleader. Like she was a stay-at-home mum and had
She's
the
still
ability
a cheerleader,
to.
man.
She is the biggest, like literally with the Acai Brothers, with everything we do, she's the cheerleader. She's always there, So.
It's so interesting because you can tell just by the space that you boys hold in this room, like you've had really good upbringings. You've had a really good chance and opportunity in life. But a question before we get into the parenting side of things, because I'm assuming you're not engaged, are you? But you got to go.
I'm married.
Oh, you're married.
Yep.
Any babies?
See, that's happened since then as
Fuck
well.
me.
No kids. No kids.
You're engaged.
Fiance, yeah.
Fiance, and you're TikToking the shit out of it.
And we get married in August.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yes, sir. Keen.
But I'm
Very
curious,
keen.
like, let's talk a social question for a second. I was having this conversation with my my ex-wife the other day. And because my son's kind of going through the stage where he doesn't want to go to jiu-jitsu, he doesn't want to go to taekwondo, he doesn't want to go to, these things. And she's going, well, I'm just thinking about letting him make his own decisions. I'm like, he's 6. Now, there's anything wrong with giving kids a level of free will, but I was like, one of the things, I have this belief that I think sport should be compulsory with every child, just so that they learn a level of discipline around expressing energy to a point of pain so that they can familiarize themselves with that level of discomfort. So my question really is, again, it's more of a social question. Do you think sport should be, because I'm listening to you guys, there's no wonder you're successful. Great upbringing, incredible discipline, grit, and obviously an interest in business. You've clearly had a lot of success. But I would be curious from your perspective, how much of your success today, your ability to maintain and sustain, is actually related to your early sporting days?
So much of it, all of it.
Yeah, I would say a lot. Like personally, with track, you're a one-man team. Like there's no team apart from you and your coach.
It's like business.
It's like business, man. So you're pretty much like riding the wave by yourself. So it taught me a lot about structure, discipline, dealing with, your mental capacity, your mental state. When you're, like what I said before, when you hit that 300 meter mark and you've got 3 hurdles to go, your mind goes a few places. Yeah. It goes either I'm going to collapse full of lactic acid and not continue the next 100 meters, or I'm like, let's do this for my family, for me, for blah, 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 blah. So like sport actually taught me a lot about structure and being disciplined and actually combating some of my mental thoughts.
Leaning into the pain, as well. Like just being able to teach yourself, as you talked about pain, like it's true. Like you go through so much when you're playing sport, and the ability to be able to lean into that and understand it and then also recognize it and move forward, that's so important.
It's such important aspects of pain, because when you look at sporting pain, it's like 360 degrees, because you've got the physical pain, of pushing yourself, the physical pain of injury, the mental pain of, loss, the in some cases social pain of being humiliated and teased. And, there are so many aspects of pain, but which, looking at you boys, has been an incredible part of forging your journey.
Yeah, you get used to pain though as well. So like, when you do 10 rounds of 400s,
sometimes as well.
You've got lactic acid.
Addicted to pain.
Yeah, and then the next session you try and do 15 laps of 400 meters, and it's like the same thing. So for us, like we've got 20 stores, let's push that to 30 stores.
But why are you addicted to pain? Like what is it that you find?
I find that it helps me get out of my comfort zone, and that's where I learn more about myself.
Yes.
And that's where I feel like I can start leveling up.
Yeah.
When I'm not out of my comfort zone, I really don't level up. I'm literally just doing the same thing day in, day out. But as soon as it's weird, like when we do a store opening, we're outside of our comfort zone. Because like it's out of the norm. Like it's not like our normal day-to-day office procedures, right? But then when we open up a store, we're out of our comfort zone. And then when we leave, that next Monday in the office, everyone's pumped. Purely for the fact that we're out of our comfort zone last week. So you're going to get a different Sam and Ben next week, because like we're ready to roar. I don't know. So it just teaches me like how to just get out of my comfort zone. Yeah. Love
I
it.
think naturally with pain, like it's that time where you can doubt yourself, but it's that feeling of overcoming that. That's like, as I said, that's the addictive nature of it. Like, I did do that. Do you know what I mean? Like I can do that next time. So like you only really need to, what I figured out in business and in life is you only really need to go through things once. Because once you go through it once, you realize it's not as bad as what you thought it was. And then you're nearly chasing that next thing. So like you can see that like there is a slight probably addictive addictive personality to you in a way, especially.
Have you
in
found
business.
any transcendent qualities in pain? And again, the reason I'm asking is because of the sporting background. And one of the things I've noticed personally is when you surrender to pain, like you legit, not just I'm dealing with it, I'm resilient and I'm going to push you at that point where you can go, okay, I surrender all pain. Have you ever had that moment either on the track or somewhere where all of a sudden you just transcend everything and it's like everything just dissolves away and you just find a space where you feel like you can't stop?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like even in business.
Just looking at your face when I said that, I could see you recalling.
Well, yeah, because I'm like, go back to track. It's like, okay, you need to do a 400 meter hurdles. You know that when you hit that 300 meter mark, you're going to be done. So like you need to surrender to that. And then if you surrender to that, you're like, well, I know it's already coming up. So just deal with it and you'll be out at the end of in the next 10 seconds. In business, it's the same sort of thing. When you forecast problems, you know that there's going to be a problem. You know with that problem, there's going to be pain. But when you surrender to that pain, it ends up being okay. Because you become completely vulnerable.
You reach steady state, you know what I mean? You just reach that steady state of just being able to deal with it.
And I think it's important for people who's listening, because some people might be listening and go, well, I've never fucking done sport. What do I have to fucking do sport now to become
Gaming.
successful? Well, it's anything. Like anything that produces pain, exactly. I think provides us with that opportunity. You know, I still remember my very first mentor, when I met him on the Gold Coast. It was my very first meeting. This was a life-changing meeting. I haven't talked about this for a very long time. I had a meeting within 45 minutes. He said to me, okay, do you know what your biggest problem is? I was like, what? He goes, your life is based around protecting yourself and avoiding pain. And he had it in a conversation with me. He goes, I want you just for the next week, every time you feel a discomfort, just fucking do it anyway. And cool. That thing changed my life because I literally got to the point where and by the way, I'd already had it intrinsically in me. He just pointed it towards the direction of business. I had it in the area of sport, combat, other areas. But when I put it in business, I was like, at the moment I started leaning in, fuck me, the magic that can happen. Again,
pain creates innovation as well. Like that's what people forget is like pain creates innovation and pressure is sometimes privilege in a way as well. Like
pressure is privilege.
You know what I mean? Like you got to understand you're putting yourself under that pressure and you're doing it for a reason. You know,
you look at Federer in the finals of a Wimbledon. That's fucking he's earned the right to have that level. People go, oh, it's massive pressure. Yeah, but you have to earn the right to have that kind of pressure.
It's like a relationship as well. Like when you break up with someone, that pain that you feel is terrible. But then if you surrender to that pain, the next relationship that you have might be far better.
Yeah.
Because you've already felt that pain. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of something for your audience to benefit your audience. Like I'm like, how, like from their end, like, cause I had a friend who recently just went through a breakup and he's finally surrendered to the pain. And then I know for a fact that his next relationship will be far better.
Oh yeah.
Because he's dealt with the pain before and he probably never wants to feel like that again.
It's interesting. Jason De Silva, Jason De Silva? Great filmmaker on social. He's now doing his own stuff. He did this video the other day on relationships, intimate relationships are death practice. Because the harder you lean in, at some point there's going to be a massive return in pain. There's going to be a massive loss.
Yep.
And even the thought of that massive loss in some cases brings people, a clenching fist to the pit of their stomach. And that's often what we pursue is, fuck it, I'm going to just do it anyway, and just go through that pain.
I think people forget that that's actually what they're sometimes chasing as well, is that feeling. Like, do you know what I mean? It makes you feel like you're actually there and you're in it.
It's so interesting that this is the theme of this conversation quite heavily so far, because when we look at so many aspects of life and performance in any area, the thing that prevents people from doing the greatest thing that they can do is pain. And the inability to regulate the pain and the biological and the biochemical and the psychological responses that it breeds for us.
100%.
But when I look at you guys just seem so chill. You seem so calm. You're like 8 years in there. You got 20 stores. Everything's going well. But has there been any moments where the shit has hit the fan? Because I know you boys love to do like naked ads.
Yeah. It was not to the naked ads.
we can't take our shirts off anymore. I think we're getting too old now.
People don't recognize you unless you got your shirts off, boys.
Pretty much. We rock up to a meeting and they're like, so why is your shirt on? And I'm like, because you're a prospective franchisee.
That's why I'm buying the brand.
Yeah. I think, look, as I said, since we've last sort of spoken, I think that there's a lot happened over the last couple of years, and it's something that we haven't really spoken to anyone about. And I don't know if we're going to like brush over it too much or go real deep with it, because it's something that honestly we haven't really discussed with anyone outside of our partners and even our direct family. But we went through a process at the start of 2018 where we had potential investors coming through into the brand to take us globally.
Yeah, right.
And I think that that's a process for any small business that can be very exciting, but I think that you can also get caught up in the excitement.
Intoxicating.
Intoxicating is probably a better word for it. And I think that that was definitely one of the feelings that we probably went through, one of the emotions we went through to come out the other end of that without what we expected to happen and get through the back end of that was definitely something that I think has made us, stronger people and stronger businessmen, and something that, as I said, we haven't gone through with that investment. So you could probably only understand, I guess, the depths that we probably went through with that. I think that's the time where
like our resilience muscle has gotten far.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Because last time I spoke to you, guys were like, yeah, everything's pretty good. I was like,
well,
come on, boys, give me something juicy.
It's super interesting though. Like whenever we talk to a successful business person like yourself or someone else, like they're like, tell me the ugly part.
Yeah.
Like,
and up until this one, I don't think you guys
we
really
weren't, man. Everything was hunky dory.
Very lucky.
Oh, so good.
Which is great. But like, we're super fortunate that we went through that now.
Yeah.
Like last year, we didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And
2019 was tough.
We were like, holy shit, like, can we actually do this? And then it's only now at the start of this year, we're like, okay, we can see the light. Like, let's keep moving.
Yep.
We've got an incredible brand, incredible store owners. We have incredible innovation. Let's just keep pushing.
When you put on the edge of potentially losing everything that you ever had, I think that's when you.
And also when you spent at this point 6-7 years building.
And I think that's where the point I said where pain creates innovation as well. I think that like where 2019 sort of happened for us is that we had time to sit back and really evaluate where we are, one as people, one as a brand, one as our relationship, and what we're actually trying to achieve now. Because if we didn't dig in last year and sacrifice a lot, then we wouldn't have been here in 2020, and we knew that. So you know that if we're here talking today in 2020, we're fine. So don't worry about us. But
current franchisees, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay,
don't worry.
Don't
worry. But for 2019 was one of those years where I think we definitely learned a lot about ourselves.
It's interesting because I don't know if this is the scenario, but I'll share a scenario that I've seen probably a couple dozen times where people do what you guys do. They build up their brand, they build up a business, and all of a sudden an investor or a potential buyer comes on the scene. And then there's all of a sudden there's the potential of bigger money, and it just fucks them right up, like literally. And in some cases, the transaction, if it doesn't go through, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, it takes a little bit of while for recovery because it takes your eye off the ball from being the mission to, in some cases, the money. Is that what happened with you guys?
You've nailed it.
Yeah, right.
You've nailed it. We were sold the fluffy dream and the dream that two young entrepreneurs would like to be sold. So we were like, we surrendered to that. We're like, okay, these guys have built X amount over the last 50 years of business. These guys know what they're talking about. So we created this halo effect on that individual. So everything that they said was like gospel.
Yep.
And when we rip it all down now, we're like, oh my goodness, like they're just very good salespeople.
Yeah. Like I think we're both like naturally trusting guys, and I think that's probably a very strong quality and great quality to have, but it's also like one that can leave you open. And I think that it was definitely a time that we left ourselves very open and probably should have looked at the situation better at times where we didn't.
Something that I had to learn how to develop through a number of different lessons was curiously polite skepticism. Like in because I just, like you guys, I used to be the most trusting motherfucker in the world, and I've got my fair share of scars on the rear end to show for it.
Could imagine.
But the reality was, I was like, okay, I just can keep learning my lesson. And the fact that you guys have taken this long, it's great. But the lesson I learned from that scenario was just to take the lesson and not let it repeat.
Exactly, and that's something that we now know. I guess, as I said, like I said it before, like you only really need to go through something once to really truly understand. And we're not going to go through that again. Do you know what I mean? Like we've learnt now, and we understand the processes. We understand how it should look and how it should feel.
And also the value of independence as well, because you are so much more valuable when you don't need anyone.
I think like, and also like having more faith in us.
Yes.
Like, man, like we just had no faith in us. Like we were just like, oh, these guys know what they're doing because of
I know, I can tell you why
what
too.
they built.
Do you know why? And it's not, you don't have any faith. It's not that you don't have faith. You've got a level of faith that's at a ceiling. And I can tell you why, just in a short, brief history of your time.
Sure.
You guys have never fully been challenged. Like until last year. And
it's true.
If that's your biggest challenge, then you're going to be not really sure of where your ceilings are for being able to deal with rapid, massive, big change. And so if anything, I'd be like, I wouldn't be going, learn that lesson once you will, but I'd be looking for more lessons just like that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's more the fact that I just don't think we'll put ourselves in that particular situation.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. But it's just...
We might do more DD on the individual.
Due diligence, a lot of, curious skepticism.
What is it? Curiously
polite skepticism. Curiously polite skepticism.
I like it.
So
I like
very
that.
Curious.
That's a shirt. Just put that on a shirt.
I know, right?
That's a very good shirt.
Skeptical.
Exactly. You got to be. You got to be.
And it gets to the point where you really enjoy being not skeptical, but just asking the questions that you want to ask that nobody would. You know, because I can't ask. Look, these guys are professionals. We can't ask them that question. It's like, fucking ask them anything. You know,
Exactly.
Well, they're just people, right? So like,
we're all just. People.
I think in every transaction, you've all got something to bring to the table as well. Don't ever forget the value of who you are as a person.
Yep.
And I definitely think there are times where we probably forgot our value, our true value of what we brought to the
So
table.
were there some times in the last 2 years where you literally, and it sounds like there were you really like, fuck, I don't know if we're actually going to get through this.
oh, multiple, like multiple times.
And I think even
not
people
just the ones.
from the outside looking in probably would have said that as well. Like, so it's not just us going, oh, we're really hard on ourselves, you know, and it's a really tough situation. There was a lot of people from the outside that we were leaning on as well for support and help and direction as well, because they've either gone through it or they just understand the process a bit better.
It's one thing to look at yourself and go, fuck, I'm fucked. And another thing to show it to someone else and go, yep, you're fucked. You're fucked too. Yeah. Assessment correct.
That third party opinion.
But then it's something else to then go, I'm going to turn it around anyway.
Yeah, look, even at the darkest moment, we still had faith.
Yeah,
like we still had faith. It wasn't like we're going to give up. It's like, dude, how can we just get through this?
Yeah.
Like, surely there's a way.
So
We
what
were
did you, like,
creative.
again, you don't have to share. What did you do to get through? Like, if there's a lesson from this outside of the philosophy.
Yeah.
Well, like I think we know more about our financial model better than ever. Because I think
Beautiful.
like for like
Great
a lot of
lesson.
business owners out there, it's like,
You think you do.
lesson number one, like actually understand your financial model and then you can build. So we hired like 15 staff members, Kerwin.
Because we were told to.
Because
you know
we were
what I mean?
told to.
Yeah.
And then, 2019 hit and we're like, guys, like when we pulled away from the deal, we can't afford these staff members. So then we had to fire and then
We're left with three of us.
We're left with three of us, right?
Yep.
And so like that there, we learnt a lot. And then we learnt a lot about our bottom line and then our financial model as franchisors. And then
We sold things, we hustled, we found a way to make money to pay bills. You know what I mean? That's all it was. It's all it got to was a point where it's like, okay, well, what's the next bill? How much do we owe? Like, how much is it? Okay, cool. All right, what do we got to do? Like, we got to sell. We got laptops. Cool, let's sell laptops. You know, we need to
Need to work on the corner?
Sublease this. Yeah,
Work on the
do we
corner.
need to work on a corner? Yeah, like it's
Rent's
just,
due, boy. You make a mod sale.
like we did whatever we had to do. You know what I mean? We obviously in the right way. We were never out there doing the wrong thing, but at the same time, we just found ways to make it work. And also, as I said, we just it gave us more time to really look at the brand from a different way, and we started looking at things that we never looked at before because we had to look at it.
What did you look at?
Well, just like
I mean, personally, like we looked at our business as a actual business rather than like Benny's and Sam's brand that we've built from, the grandma's kitchen. It's like we actually looked at it as a business and go, okay, well, this is our model. How can we improve our model? And like finally we separated ourselves from the business and then we were actually like, cool, let's start being more commercial now rather than like, this is just entrepreneurship and innovation. Like we're actually looking at Acai Brothers now as a business and we're taking it very seriously.
just finding ways to make the company more money. Do you know what I mean? Like, and when you do that, you start to really create some interesting things where you look at it and you go, actually, that could be the future of our brand now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we've done that. Like, we really believe coming into 2020, we've created, a couple of new models for the brand, for example, that we're like, this is actually where I feel like our brand should be heading now. Do you know what I mean? And that just all came out of the place of being where we're like, we need to find a way to make more money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's where that came from.
Yeah, you get creative. That's for sure.
Financial models are so important, but almost nobody looks at their financial model, and even less people look at their finances.
It scares me.
The last time I went through, and don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say I'm the best person in the world at this, but it's something that we do a lot with our clients is we look at their financial model. We go, okay, how are you making money? Where's the money coming from? What's the profitability? How much does it cost? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the last time I did exactly what you boys did, I went from 4 million to 30 this year.
Well done.
But again, all I looked at was where are we making money? How are we making money? Went from 7 different events to 1.
Oh, yeah.
And
like the
so
80-20
just on
rule,
that, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we have 20 stores now.
here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if we've got to go numbers. Let's go to numbers.
So we have 20 stores now, and in the month of December and January, in history of owning Acai Brothers, we've done the highest turnover
There you
ever.
go.
And we have less stores
Yeah.
than ever.
Fuck, I just want to
like, isn't that just amazing? Like for us, like we were looking at our data and we're just like, this is amazing. We've got great store owners, quality over quantity, and the brand is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And we have less stores, dude. Like, surely that's a sign.
We're starting to see the trends as well. We're at that 5-6 year mark where you can start to look back on the historical data, and it's like this is the fun part now of being in business, where you're like, okay, I can see that now. I can see the trend, and like that's what we're starting to see now. Like with our brand, it's like for one, it's like 80% of our sales are bowls. Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we we got to listen to our franchisees. Don't get me wrong. We're constantly listening to them and innovating off the back of their thought process as well. But you also got to sometimes just look at the data and be like, why are we not doubling down in certain areas? And then 70% of the bowls that we sell are one bowl. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like, how do we upsell? How do we create something now that's just based on that product, for example? Because the fact is that if we can, like, there's three things right now. We're in hospitality franchising, right? And there's three things that really kill hospitality. One is the lease, the rent. Right? The next one is our cost of goods, and the next one is staff labor. So if we can look at those three things and we can find solutions for those three things, so what's the solution for rent? Well, we go smaller. You know what I mean? So how do we go smaller? Well, we make the systems simpler. We make the menu simpler. And now we look at products that are now only 5 or 6 products instead of 30 products where we need a big kitchen. And what that does innately is that we now have less staff labor as well. Now we've got less staff labor because we're now moving to a more of a machine concept, for example. And how do we also decrease staff labor? Again, we look at self-serving for customers, for example. We have kiosks, what I mean? And this is cost of goods. How do we do it? We work on creating products like we're working on our smoothie cubes and things like that at the moment, where like we can save on fresh fruit and veg and other ways to still make money that we need and hit the margins that we need to hit. So it's like we're starting to look at all these areas and be like, okay, well, how do we fix it? How do we fix that? And that's where this new models is sort of being built out of.
Do you know the key word that was said to me? Because I love it when someone just gives you a phrase and it goes fucking And the phrase that was given to me that you're epitomizing is less moving parts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The less moving parts.
Less is more.
Simpler. The easier. The more effective, efficient, productive, cost-effective. And that sounds like what you boys did. You pulled out all the fucking moving parts, went like, what's our core machinery?
Exactly it.
And we find that now. Like we have 3 staff members, myself, Ben, and our digital designer, and then obviously we subby out some other stuff. But like the brand's as best it's ever been. And we have less staff.
And less headaches.
And
it's like the difference between looking after 3 fucking 4-year-olds versus looking after 15 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say, like, obviously it's important to hire and get people who do things better than you, but it's also important to be able to learn to do a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact is that like we've taught ourselves so many important skills.
You know every aspect of your business.
Aspect.
You've done every role.
Every role.
Do you know what that makes you? Fucking great leaders and managers, because you know the role and no one can hoodwink you. You can't be bullshitted. You can look at them. You can look at the data. One thing that we're big on as well is data-driven decision making. So it can be intuitive, but let's have a data case as well. But that sounds super interesting.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, we have 20 store owners, right? So like we consult 20 store owners on a month-to-month basis.
Yeah.
So
like you guys know how to hustle, because I do remember one story that you were telling me about where you had a freezer breakdown or something. What was that story?
We've had many, man. But like,
we should talk about our first store. I think that's like
that might have been.
It would have been that. I think that would have been it.
When we obviously people don't know that Acai Brothers started in Wellington Point, which is out in the Redlands, and both of us owned our gyms at that time, and we started obviously seeing the acai trend popping up, and a lot of clients would come in and they'd mention to us, what's this acai? Like, is it good for me? And obviously back then you'd look into everything because you want to be able to give them at least some sort of feedback on their nutrition, and that's when we started seeing.
This is how acai was born.
This is where acai Brothers was born.
Because a lot of people were asking you as your advisor, as a health advisor.
Exactly it. Exactly it. And there was a lot of cafe like acai. Funny, people don't know acai's been in Australia now for nearly 15 years, I think. So like
it's actually and just add to that for your audience, like it's been around for thousands of years, but it wasn't actually introduced to Western world until the early 1990s.
Yeah.
And it was introduced to the Western world via surfers in Brazil, because they were adding it to their smoothie drinks and adding it to their bowls.
They'd
and
have
then
guarana in it, and they'd use it like a pre-workout or like an energizing.
Yeah, right.
to like regain extra energy. And then like these guys were like sitting on the beach, and then it was like a natural Viagra. And then as soon as you start labeling something a natural Viagra, man, it's going to be trending.
Yeah, right.
Right. So then it started to trend, and then it started to turn into smoothies and bowls.
It got pretty, and then it started looking pretty. Because like obviously in Brazil, like the people might not know, they use this on like, river fish. Like, you know what I mean? It's like acai is a fruit from the Brazilian Amazon, and it's actually one of the only fruit in the world without any fructose in it. So it's not naturally sweet at all. So it's actually very bitter. So a lot of them use it for completely different uses than what we use it for today.
For fish food.
Literally, you could use it as a sauce on fish. Like they used it as a medicinal, like the sauce.
Right.
So they'd use it a medicinal properties as well. Like obviously in the Amazon itself, it was used on for skin conditions, for ulcers. It was used for fevers. It was used for a multiple array of different uses. So people forget that. They just think it always started as a bowl. It's not how it started. It just developed like that over time.
That's the Western.
This is the Western way of doing it.
Expression.
Because it's high in vitamin E's, omegas, proteins, antioxidants.
So what are the major health benefits benefits of acai, like for the normal everyday Joe?
Look, it's great for gut health. As I said, it's mega high in antioxidants, more than a blueberry or anything like that. It's obviously, I can't sit here and claim that it does everything, but obviously it's great for heart conditions. They say, great for your skin. As I said, great for gut health. They've used
great
it
for pre and post workout.
It's decreasing prostate enlargement.
No kidding.
All these different uses.
It does jack you up a little bit, doesn't it?
It does.
Because I'm quite a sensitive fellow. I notice if I have it on an empty stomach, and I don't have acai very often, but I'm like, it's like a cup of coffee.
It does.
I'm like,
on that, we had 3 liters one year in one sitting, and that was like a cup of coffee.
You had 3 liters.
We did it as like we launched our liter bowl challenge. This is back in like 2016, and we launched it and we said, look, you guys only have to do a liter, we'll do 3. So we just said, like, literally in this video, we ate 3 liters of acai, and I was throwing up purple in the bathroom. Sam was lying on the couch with the biggest food baby.
I was pregnant for like a week.
I swear it was.
So it affected you for a week.
It was
our
bad.
stools were like purple for like a week. I swear, like literally.
How
I was
was
like eating beetroot.
How long did you sleep? Did you ever sleep for the next?
Oh yeah, I think we did.
Did you ever sleep again?
Yeah.
No, I haven't slept since 2015. It's high in antioxidants, great vitamins in there, good omegas. Like it's great.
Yeah, it's actually
and easy delivery.
Exactly.
Fatty acids. Yeah.
And so you guys saw the trend, and then how did you guys connect the dots together?
Well, that's where we were at New Year's in 2013, and we were as we always say, have a couple of cordials. I think it was the Carlton Zeros, no alcohol in there now. So like we were having a drink and we were just chatting about different things, and at the time we actually started talking about acai, and I was like, man, I had a client come in and they were talking more and more about acai, and have you heard of it before? And Sam was like, you know what, I've heard of it before, I've never tried it. And I was like, actually, there's a couple of cafes that are trying it, and they just have a bowl on the menu. Like we should go give it a crack. And I don't think any of them are really just like focusing in on acai itself. Like I wonder if we maybe we create something, and we called it a superfood bar. Like we should create like a superfood bar where it's just acai. And at that time we sort of looked at each other and we said, yeah, let's do it. That sounds like a great idea. And then obviously, just like anything, it sort of dissipates a little bit over time. But then at the start of the new year, we caught back up and we started talking about it more and more, and we'd train together every single day. This is started 2014.
14 now, yep.
Started 2014, and we'd train together every single day now, and we'd talk more about the concept, and we kept coming up with all these crazy ideas and the names and how it would look and how it would feel. It's all those things. Like I think both of us are very visual people, so at first we always try to visualize what the brand might look like and feel like before we go ahead and create it. Some people are the opposite. They might focus on the financial end and what that all looks like. We were more from the visual. So once we got the vision and it all started to look special, that's when we really got motivated. And I remember one time Sam called me and he goes, are we actually going to do this, or
that was in April
about it?
So that was 4 months after New Year's.
I fucking love that.
You know what I mean? Like everyone does this.
Yeah.
It's like they create, like they want to do something, but then they don't do it. Yeah. And then 4 months later, I remember like
how good is your awareness to pull yourselves up and go, fucking, what are we going to do? Are we going to talk about this, or shit, I'll get off the pot?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Literally.
Yeah. And we got off the pot, which was fantastic.
Because it was full of purple shit.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. We were forecasting the pain at the 3 liter bowl.
Yeah.
And like we called each other and we're like, dude, are we actually going to do this or not? And then so we said, yes, let's do it. So then we caught up the next day and we said, all right, let's list out a plan of attack and let's plan this all out. What's our next step? Well, 2 gym goers diving into the hospitality industry is chalk and cheese, right? So it's very different industries to start off with. So like, where do we even begin? So we started calling our competitors and finding out what types of equipment they were using in order to make a bowl or a smoothie.
Literally, we'd call them and be like, we're making a smoothie at home, and they're just the normal domestic stuff isn't cutting it. Like we really need something to really, it's not cutting through. Yeah, watch the commercial gear that you use. We really, we might get a commercial blender at home. They're like, yeah, I think it's a Vitamix. Like, Vitamix, write it down, Sam. Right? You know what I mean? So like that's literally how we did it. We just kept going through the equipment at the time, and eventually we got a bit of a list of equipment, and then we paid for the equipment and we sent it to Sam's grandparents' house. We went downstairs in the kitchen and invited Sam's mum, my dad, and we're all over. And we had at the time, we found a lady that had specialized in superfoods out of Thailand at the time. And we recommended her, and she was known for menu creation and working with some of these ingredients before. So she actually helped us conceptualize and put together our very first menu. And we sat there and we created this menu for our parents. And I remember it clear as day because Sam's best mate as well, Mitch, was there. And we make our first juice on this cold press machine that take like 10 minutes to make a juice, and we hated making it. We're like, this has got to be a faster way. And we make this product and we hand it to our parents, and they would take a bite or they take a sip and they look at us and they go, are you sure you want to do this? Literally, that's literally the words out of their mouth. And
my mate today, he still believes that he never said that. I'm like, bro,
like, no, man, I said you were going to fucking crush it.
I said, bro, no, you said that. Like, it's been like embedded in my mind,
in our brains. We remember because we remember looking at each other and we're going,
oh, fuck.
what have we done? You know what I mean?
And then we started going like, all right, how many juices or bowls do we need to sell each day to freaking break even? And so we're like, okay, we need to make $687 each day. And we're like, bro, like that's a lot of product. Like in Wellington Point in Redlands, like the average age is like 80, right? So like, are they actually going to buy our product?
And at this time as well, like we'd just come up, I remember because I was driving in the car and I came up with the name and it was Acai Brothers. And I was thinking, I was like, brothers, you know, we call each other brother, and there's
Tomato Brothers.
There's Tomato Brothers. And in the Redlands, like there's all these great brands with brothers. What about Acai Brothers? And I was like, perfect. I'm ringing Sam. I rang him. I told him the name, and Sam was like, "I love it. I was like, "Meet me at Nando's in Wellington Point." And you know, I'm gonna draw. I got an idea for the logo, so we caught up in Nando's, and everyone at that time, Nando's is the place, you know. And we met in Nando's, and I'm sitting there drawing the logo, and I draw it up, and I flick the logo over to one of my sign writers who did some stuff for me with the gym, and within like 30 minutes, they had got us back like the mocked up version of our logo, which is the exact logo still today.
Wow.
And we had it there, and we're looking at it, we had the name, and we're just like, this is it. Like we just need a site. And if you go to Nando's at Wellington Point and you look out the window, you'll see our very first store.
No.
Yeah, it was full lease. It was 20 square meters. It was sitting there, like literally plain as day. And we just looked at it, and I knew the guy on the actual lease sign. It was Nathan Moore, and he'd leased me my gym, so I knew him. I had him on my phone, so I was like, I got this. I got to give him a call. We called him. He came and met us there. We had a look at it. We signed the lease that day, and the next day we started building the store.
We signed a lease without actually knowing what we were diving into.
Signing without getting a lawyer to read it.
Yeah.
Did that come back to bite?
No,
Okay,
thank goodness.
Luckily. No, but it was the same thing.
But it was from there as well. Like, you know, we signed this lease, and then we started to fit out the store and all of these types of things. And then we're like, okay, let's start ordering the ingredients pre-opening. And so we're sitting in the kitchen, and we're like, okay, so what do we need? Michelle was the chef that we hired. And she's like, okay, so you need to start off with bananas. And so we started off with bananas, and she goes, okay, so order 10 boxes of bananas. So we ordered 10 boxes of bananas, and that's 100 kilos of bananas. Ooh. And we're like,
that's one ingredient.
This is 25 square meters, dude. Like, how are we going to fit like 100 kilos worth of bananas in this store? Like, how? So then we started getting in contact with the shopping center, and we're like, hey, we need more storage. What can you give us? So thank goodness she gave us 2 car parks. And within those 2 car parks, we're like, well, we can start putting in some trailers, some mobile trailers, some mobile freezers. So we hired 3 mobile freezers for the grand opening day. And those 3 mobile freezers were $330 each mobile freezer. It's about $990 per week in freezer space that we had to pay for the first 3 months. Wow. Just because we didn't have the storage.
And we just had no idea.
Like
2 gym guys going into hospitality is not, like, I would not recommend that on anyone.
But here's a common theme I seem to be hearing throughout your lives, but I'm just curious how connected you guys are to it. Like, how much has intuitive flow played a level of assistance, or how much has that been a part of your life? Because I get the sense that you guys are fucking really tuned into flow. Like things just seem to kind of just, oh shit, look, Nando's, there's the store. Oh, great. Oh, here's my phone there. Oh, we'll sign it now. Oh, great. Oh, we've got the...
Definitely.
Like, I think at that time it was very
especially
high.
in the startup process. I think we were I think that was true. That's when it really happens. And I think that we were so confident in our abilities that we just let it happen. Do you know what I mean? And as it happened, we just jumped on it. Do you know what I mean? We didn't let it pass us by. So every single moment we would jump on it. And as I said, like it because we were like that, we were opening ourselves up to more. And because we opened ourselves up to more, you know, when you do that with anything in life, you're gonna, you know, people are gonna help you out.
And we had a lot of faith in ourselves. Like we just did. Like even like it doesn't matter how hard it's gonna be.
It was nearly, people would say it's naive.
Yeah. But like even when like my mate Mitch said, dude, this is not gonna work. Like, what are you doing? It was like, no, it's gonna work. Like, it's just going to work. Even that's your closest friend saying that feedback to you. Like, there's just deep intuition where it's like, no, this is going to work, man. 100%.
So how much do you guys trust that? Is that something that you guys talk about, connect to?
Yeah, like over the last 5 years, Kerwin, I've learned that to listen to my gut way more than my head, way more. Yeah. And when we were going through the investor process, which is what we touched on before, I listened to my head instead of my gut.
Was your gut talking?
My gut was talking, man, and it was saying what ended up being the result, which is like, just don't do it.
Yeah.
But my head was like, no, give this a crack.
Each moment, I think that we did something in that process. I think we were sort of like double guessing it.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point where you're starting to double guess it, I think you got to really evaluate it. We just didn't do that.
Yeah.
Man, you know when your mum used to say, listen to your gut? Like, man, that statement is so true.
For everything.
So true for everything. Yeah. Like right now, like my gut's saying this is an amazing podcast. And my head's saying, this is an amazing podcast.
But it's interesting because Napoleon Hill talks about this fascinating, I guess you'd call it a circumstance or situation or occurrence, that when people find their thing, oftentimes in the initial stages, they'll find massive levels of flow as almost like a universal sign to say, okay, you're on the right track, come this way. But then you reach a point where it's like, okay, you've reached as far as you can with the skills that I brought you to this point on. Yep. Now I need to give you new skills. You don't know what they are yet.
Yep.
So I'm going to drop this tree in front of you. I'm going to drop a rock on you. I'm going to drop a rock on your dog. I'm going to do something that's going to cause a level of pain, which sounds like you guys are now moving into that phase.
That next stage,
we've learned to deal with pain quite comfortably, but I think 5 years ago we didn't really know how to deal with it, and I think that's also the reason why a lot of people don't start their own ventures is because of exactly that. They're so scared of that pain, they don't know how to deal with it, whether they don't know who to talk to or they don't have a support network around them. So they're just like, you know what, I'm just going to stick doing what I'm doing.
And I think as well, like what you talked about when someone drops a rock on your dog, for an example, like I think it's also don't overthink that situation sometimes. I think you got to start to sit there and realize that, okay, well, this is where I'm at. Like, what's it look like now moving forward? Like, I think so many people, just think about the rock hitting the dog and they don't think about why the rock hit the dog or whatever it is, whatever the
their
analogy
relationship
is.
with the
or the relationship with the dog. Yeah,
the relationship with the dog hitting the rock hitting the dog. Like,
exactly. What
does this mean to me? What am I going to choose as a meaning?
Exactly it.
I'm going to assume that you guys, there seems to be a high level of flow. Like, what do you guys do to develop yourselves outside of just being in business? Because I get a sense you guys are on a bit of a journey as well.
Yeah, look, personally, I listen to podcasts. Yep. I meditate occasionally. I do yoga and Pilates, weight training.
So those guns were built with yoga?
Mate, yoga's so underrated. Oh. It's ridiculous. Look, I think I'm just very self-aware, to be completely honest.
What is it that's driven that though? Like, was that just how you were brought up?
No, I don't think it's the way. Like, I think it's been developed. Like this year, I feel way more self-aware than I've ever been before, and I honestly think it's because we've gone through so much pain. Like I said to Benny the other day, I said, bro, like I'm so happy. Like holistically, spiritually, mentally, like physically, financially, I'm not like the greatest right now. Like, and we both aren't, and we're happy to talk about it today. But overall, like I'm just so happy with what we're creating and what we're producing. Just one. Like it's all good. Like
one.
It's amazing.
Everything is a bonus from you.
I think like you got to, as I said, like you got to look at everything. Like as I said, maybe we weren't as successfally financially last year, right? But maybe
that's one.
That's
measure.
One measure. That's what everyone
measure.
forgets. That's one measure. Like from a relationship point of view, both externally, I think that was one of the biggest positives that come out of last year. Like we got to meet some amazing people and we started surrounding ourselves more with mentors, for example. Like that's something that we never really did. You know what I mean? Like we caught up with Stephen Marks from Guzman Gomez, founder of Eagle Boys we've caught up with.
Yeah, like CEO of Grilled as well.
Like we've caught up with all these people now and we started to like surround ourselves with these people that have gone through the same things, that are becoming mentors for us, and we've developed these relationships that I think are going to
so often people judge us by our first quarter, you know what I mean? And you guys are in your first quarter, but you've got a great team.
I love talking to older people, man, purely for the like it's honestly
so much better perspective.
It's incredible. Like I remember talking to my 80-year-old, like my granddad's brother, and I was telling him about the journey that we've been on, and he was like, "Oh yeah, been there a few times." Like he was just like he just like parked it to the left, and he was like, "So what's the problem? Like move on, just keep persevering."
Yeah, right.
And like I was like, all right, mate. Like I had no other answer.
What do you have?
And this is like an old school builder.
Yep.
Like he's been there, done that, seen the worst, and he's gotten out of it. And he's like, you'll get through it, man. Don't worry. Just have a lot of faith.
So many people, like as I said, like Steve Marks and I had a little bit, because if you ever met that guy is an intense personality, and someone who I recommend actually. He was saying like, just keep going. Just keep going, boys. Just keep going.
Who's Steve Marks?
Steve Marks is the founder of Guzman Gomez.
Oh, okay.
And just
from New York. He's from New York. That's why Ben put on an accent.
Sorry. You're like, why is he talking like this?
No, I did something.
When he impersonates people, it's just American accents.
have a habit. But yeah, that's what he kept saying to us. And like, even though we obviously spoke about other things.
What did he say?
He said, just keep going.
Just keep going.
Oh my God.
Just keep going, boys.
Yeah, right.
And it was something that obviously like, it's really humbling nearly in a way when you hear something like that, especially from someone that you look up to. And it's just like, it's so true. Like, just stop sitting there and whining. Stop worrying. Stop stressing like that. Like we've learned so many cool skills. Like one of the things that I do now is that when something bad is happening, or I feel like something bad is happening, for me, I need to visualize it. So I write it down, right? So I write everything that could potentially go wrong. I want to know what's the worst case scenario out of this scenario. Everyone thinks they're thinking about it, but instead they're thinking about 100 different things in their head, and then that clutters them. But what's the worst case scenario? I write that down, and then I look at it and I go, can I get comfortable in that worst case scenario? How comfortable am I with this? If I'm comfortable with this, then I'm like, fuck, I can overcome it. Don't worry about it. Stop stressing. You can't change anything. If that's the worst case scenario and you're not dead, who cares? Move on.
My first or third, it was one of them. One of my bigger financial awakenings. I didn't pay tax for a couple of years, and then
it's a good time.
I should get my shit together and get my tax done. This is going back about 15 years ago. And yeah, it turns out I had $1 million tax bill.
Wow.
And they gave me a 14-day to pay, wind-up notice. And I just remember the time going, fuck, what do you do with that? Just keep swimming. But I did exactly what exactly right.
Yeah, see, I've got a plan B.
Yeah.
Just change my name and move to Mexico. I'm kidding.
But I was like, fucking, all right, what's my worst case scenario? So I literally was like, well, my worst case scenario is bankruptcy. So I literally got on the phone and rang a bankruptcy lawyer and said, walk me through my bankruptcy if I go bankrupt. He goes, well, you won't lose your house if you've got this much equity, and if you don't, you won't lose your car if you've got this much equity, and whatever savings you got, you lose, and you can discharge yourself within 5. And I was like, okay, where's the bad part?
Yeah.
He goes, well, you won't be able to probably get finance for at least 5 years. And I was like, I can make money. I was like, but where's the bad part? He goes, I literally looked, I was like, holy shit, this is a get out of jail free card. And I literally looked at it and was like, I could literally just press that button and wipe fucking $1 million worth of debt and start again. But I was like, you know what? I could do that.
Yeah.
But fuck it.
I think that's the issue, is that sometimes that is an easy way out as well.
Easy button.
That is the easy button. Like, I don't know if you've ever been put in that scenario for people listening, but obviously when you look at liquidation, like, and you talk to them, it's actually not as bad as sometimes as what it looks like. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, so I can actually just pay you 10 grand and I can move on. You know what I mean? And like, that's just not a scenario that you should be thinking about, though.
Yeah,
but the fact is that, as you said, it's sometimes not as bad.
Once I familiarized myself with the outcome, I was like, I can deal with that. I can deal with that. And I was like, the fear went from the unknown to, and like a month, 2 months at this point of stress, and then, oh my God, I'm being wound up. And then all of a sudden I was like, fuck, wind me up. Worst case scenario, I'll just work my ass off, but now I won't be distracted. Fucking brilliant. Contingency. I've heard you guys kind of mention that a few times. Are you guys natural contingency planners?
Like having plan Bs and Cs.
Yes, because you said you had a plan B.
It's a running joke.
I don't have a plan A.
No. I have a plan A, and that's definitely to try and turn this thing into a beast. But yeah,
you're doing it.
Yeah, well, look, I don't have a plan B, but I know that I'm comfortable that I could go get a job tomorrow. Yep. I'm comfortable that I could move to Bali and start a content creation company. I'm comfortable because of my.
Let me ask the question a different way, because it's not so much a contingency or any situation. It's more about one of the things that I used to work for Stephen Covey. I don't know if you know who he is. Oh. And he wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Right. I remember I was on a conference call once with a large oil company with about 50 of their international directors. And we were basically talking about, there was a mine that they had an oil well, or actually 40 oil wells that they had in Africa at the time. And they were talking about all these civil wars that were going on, militia and everything else. And they went, okay, boys and girls. And the guy, one of my clients brought me on for this experience. He goes, the lead guy comes on, who's a project planner. He goes, okay, guys, I just want to walk you through the 120 contingencies that we've come up with.
Yeah, right.
In the event that they happen, we have a plan for every single one of them. And most of these contingencies have 3 to 4 plans associated with them. But we'll just take you through the contingencies now. So if you recognize any of them, that we can deploy the plan to you immediately. Gosh. And I was just sitting there going, are you fucking kidding me? 100 plus contingencies. For literally one operation, and that affected me. Even now, like, to give you context, like even with Corona, we have contingency plans ready to go for everything that we do. We have and I work that way. Like, I think it's a bit of my PTSD as well. Like, I'm constantly prepared for the worst. But I'm curious, within your business, how much time do you guys dedicate to thinking about, like, your worst case scenario, but coming up with pre-thought out ideas what about this happen? Yeah, well, that didn't happen. No, it'll never happen. But what if it did? No, it'll never happen. But if it did, maybe we should come up with a plan. Do you ever had those conversations?
We have.
Yep.
I would say like this year's
Yeah.
been the year that we've actually had those conversations, but the last 4 years we haven't.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Great
think
year
it's
to
after
start.
what's happened.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a way in which we definitely look at things a little bit differently. Because
Yeah.
as I said, I think we just, as I said, for the first time ever, I feel like we're looking at our business from the outside looking in instead of just being so in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's been important for us, is that we actually take that time to step out and see what's happening and how it's working, because I think you can get so caught up in the day-to-day and everything, and you think that everything's a success, but when you actually look at it, like Steve, as I'll use him again, Steve Marks used a thing the other day I was listening to in a podcast, and he said, show me the data though, show me the numbers, like show me that it's actually working. Do you know what I mean? I don't care that you're emotionally attached to it and you think it's the best thing ever, like show me the actual numbers, you know? And I think that for the first time ever, we've just started looking at things and started going, okay, is that actually working? And if it isn't working, well, what can we actually do there? So I think that's the first time since everything's happened over the last maybe like 6 to 12 months, we've definitely been more that prone. But before that, being young and probably just being successful at nearly most things that we did to some extent, then we just, we never really had a plan B. It was always like a plan A for us, and that was it. Everything we did was 100, or nothing.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad mentality to have, and I think
Not
that's
at all.
different. Like,
And
I think
again,
you got to be like
clear,
that.
It's not having a plan
Exactly.
B. It's having plan Bs within your plan A.
Exactly it.
Yeah.
Exactly it.
I read
We've
an article the
definitely
other
become
day, and this lady, I can't remember her name, but she was saying, ask the question why 5 times on a specific idea or things that you might want to implement throughout your brand. So why? And then you got to think of an answer as to why you want to implement it. And then you go again, why? And then you got to think of another answer. And if you can't hit 5 whys, then don't do it.
Wow, I like that.
It's pretty
That's
interesting.
cool.
Yeah, really interesting. So it's only now this year we've really started to have
Highly
contingencies.
recommend Contingencies.
Yeah.
And again, that was the gift that PTSD gave me, is I'd be constantly scenario planning. I'd walk into a room and I'd know fucking immediately where all the exits were, who were threats. Like I would just constantly, and I was like, how do I make this useful? And then I started applying it in the business. Fuck, it just makes you so adaptable,
important.
so responsive.
Yeah.
So what's next for Acai? Like I get the sense there's something bigger going on with you boys, like personally.
Well, in terms of Acai Brothers, we have a goal to open up another 10 stores this year, and we have the goal of hitting internationally. The berry's just been approved in Bali, so we really want to hit the Indonesian waters, and we have some interest in Singapore as well. So we really want to open up 10 to 12 more in the Australian market, and then 1 or 2 internationally for this year.
It's just like that. It's like continual growth now. We just want to make sure that we hit that linear growth pattern where we're just, every year getting a bit better and growing more. But as I said, we're just focused more on, our systems now and the implementation of everything and making sure that we roll that out really well as well. So picking the right people, as I said, when you first start a business or start a franchise, for example, we say that you just say yes to anyone that has a heartbeat, you know what I mean? And then eventually,
we did.
And then eventually you realize that doesn't always work out for you. And we've just become a little bit more, not a little bit, we become very strict on the way in which we sort of, roll people into our brand, and we start to look at this as a family for us. And, who do we want in our family?
Well, it's interesting because also the way you brand and market, I'm going to assume would attract that kind of clientele for the most part anyway, because you guys have very organic, and I should say, if you guys listening haven't checked out the marketing, where can these guys find your videos? Because they're fucking
YouTube, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Check them out, 'cause they're great. They really are. They're fantastic. Yeah. Has that played an integral role in the success of the business, just out of curiosity?
I definitely think so. I think the brand was built on social, without fail.
Not your naked bodies.
Well, no, that. Yeah. So so when we first started the brand, we created this beautiful video, and it involved us being shirtless and raw, et cetera, et cetera. And at that time, when we launched that video, you weren't really seeing anything sexy or raw on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that, at all. Like, it was ridiculous.
It's back when also Facebook.
Now they're having orgies on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
And we launched that video, and it went viral in 3 months. It got 350,000 views, and I definitely think that had a big part in our success online.
It also created, I think, our vision for the brand as well. And talk about flow, even just filming that video, that was literally, our guys came in and they asked us about that video at my gym, and they said, hey, I want to do a video for your gym. And I said, look, I've just done a video for my gym. I don't need a video, but I've got this other idea, if you guys are interested. And that's where I pitched this, naked video idea, and they were on board straight away. I wrote the script. We organised a spot to film it, which happened to be at my old high school in their kitchen.
That's right.
In the lunch break.
Yep.
And it literally rocked up there. We didn't tell the principal exactly what we were doing. We tried to block out the windows, and in 2 hours we filmed it from start to finish and got that video done. So we as I said, I definitely think it set the standard for where we wanted to take our brand. I think we just want to make sure that we're we're adaptable in everything we do, and we're not, too commercial. I think we've always tried to keep this boutiqueness to us, and I think that the way in which, it's not always about the quality of your content. I think it's also just about producing content. So we've always still been on that mindset of like, let's just make sure that we're getting stuff out there. Do you know what I mean? And that's been a big thing for us as well. It's like the more consistent content.
How often do you get people coming in saying, I just love how authentic you guys are. You guys are so real.
Whenever we finish a podcast, we get feedback like that.
Yeah.
Like we're like, you guys are very transparent in your story and in your branding and in your marketing. And like that there is great.
Yeah.
So I think like, and also just to take a moment, like it's a testament to our store owners as well, who are consistently marketing the brand locally.
Yeah.
Like without our store owners, it's tough, man. And so like they each have their own social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. And they're so active on like within that online space. They're both active online and offline in their local communities. So it's a testament to them as well, because the more that they market, the better the brand looks as well.
So what do you look for in a successful franchisee?
We look for someone who comes from a level of business experience. Like ideally, a couple of years would be ideal, like especially in the back end, like the operating end, like the financial model, like actually understanding like what the numbers are, and then having an element of creativity. So do they understand online marketing? Do they understand offline community engagement? Do they understand how to run staff meetings?
Are they personable?
Are they personable?
Be able to, talk to a customer when a customer walks in? Like, what's their personality like? Do they suit the brand? Do they fit what we're trying to,
Don't buy it if you're an accountant.
Pretty much, yeah. But like, are they also financially fit as well? I think for us, you can have.
You've got to make sure they've got a level of fitness to be able to sustain.
You can have the largest wallet, Kerwin, and like if you have a shit personality, we won't say yes. Even if you say to us, hey, you want to open 10 stores, like we're just not going to say yes. For us, it's about a relationship, because at the end of the day, once you sign that dotted line and you sign that lease, we're in business together for the next 5 to 10 years. So you got to love each other. You really have to. And you have to learn to compromise as well.
And on the finance end, I think people got to understand that like business takes a while to get off the ground sometimes as well. Like the good thing with the franchise is we try to take a lot of that time away from you, and we try to bring a brand that people already recognize, and we try to get people in your door straight away. But that still involves a level of risk with anything you do in life. Do you know what I mean? So having that ability to have backup, if the first 3 months aren't as busy as they should have been, or if you're into winter and it's a little bit slower when you first open, like having a reserve there is important for us to make sure the franchisees are still comfortable.
We're trying to, there's a stigma around franchising, which is like, because you're part of a franchise system, you will be a multi-millionaire. Where did that come from? So we're trying to...
franchise marketing magazines.
Yeah. So we're trying to change that stigma. It's like, guys, like when you open up your first Acai Brothers store, we expect you to be in your store for the first 120 days, showing face, understanding the model. And then from there, you can maybe be a bit more creative with your time. But you're going to be working behind the counter.
You've got to know the business.
You've got to know the business.
It's still a business at the end of the day. And
so we're very transparent from day one with our franchisees.
It's going to attract a very unique kind of buyer as well.
Yeah.
It's not going to attract more the investor types who are a bit more disconnected. It's going to attract the owner-operators, people who are invested, more emotional, more connection.
We find the store owners that have 2 to 3 stores at the moment, they're the ones that are behind the counter serving, maybe not 7 days a week, but at least 2 or 3.
They're participating.
Or alternatively, if they don't have that, then they have a manager who's the face of their store.
Yeah.
So...
fantastic. I knew that would be better the second time, boys. The first one was shit in comparison to this one. I'm so glad we lost it. The best piece of advice that you guys have ever received, either together or independently?
I think personally is that in life you can only do 2 things amazing, and maybe if you're really, really good, you can do the third as well. And I think that you got to make sure you find the things that you really, really care about, so that you can focus in on. So if one of them's business, the other one's relationships, and maybe you're good enough that the third one might be your health as well. But there's only really 3 things, so make sure you pick them wisely, and don't try to extend yourself. I think that's where like some young entrepreneurs and other people when they're starting businesses and doing things, they try to do too many things at once. Like focus in on some of the things that you're really passionate about, and double down on it, and eventually it'll work out.
Took me 43 years to bring in the third one.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it's progression.
It's a long time.
It's like Cali.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It takes 3 months to do a muscle up.
But there's a stigma around entrepreneurship, like hugely at the moment. It's like, how many pies can you put your fingers in?
Fucking
you know what I mean? Like you would see this all the time.
2 rabbits catches none. Like one of them, like probably 20% of my time with business owners is telling them to fuck off all the distractions and focus on the one thing. Build your empire. Don't even fucking worry about an investment portfolio. Like literally, just put all your money in one basket for 5 years. Okay, if you lose it, too bad. But if you don't, I guarantee you in 5 years from now, you'll have a great fucking basket. Very good basket. Your best piece of advice?
Look, it's very simple. Like, support yourself with, surround yourself and support yourself with some amazing people that have been there and done that. If you have an idea and you don't know how to execute it, then no doubt the person who you talk to next will know how to do that. Or if they don't know, then they can probably redirect you to someone else. Honestly, that's really it. Like, the best thing that I've ever done in the last 10 to 15 years of me being in business is surrounding myself with amazing people. Like, I just have.
Makes
and
such a difference.
I hadn't had that all the time. Like, I never had that. So I've created that. And by doing that, I've just been able to talk more. And like, if you don't have that, a key piece of advice, just reach out to people on Instagram. You can reach out to us. We can steer you in the right direction. It's pretty simple when you when you get given a framework.
Don't put people on a pedestal sometimes as well. I think some people look at it and they go, "Oh, it's Kerwin Ray, though. He's not gonna want to talk to me." Like, the fact is that, like, that most people have time for people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
especially if you put yourself out there. Like, we've caught up with heaps of people, and then we've had so many amazing people catch up with us.
Exactly.
That we never thought would ever have time for us.
It's funny because, like, how before I was talking about older people and perspective. It's funny now that we're like 29 and 30. Like, we're now mentoring 21-year-olds. Like, we're doing the whole perspective thing, and sometimes we're like, holy shit, man, we're pretty old.
Fuck you both.
Oh, you look good, though. You look better than us.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
That's awesome. Well, listen, boys, thank you so much for flying down second time round. Please, Gloria, don't fucking lose this recording. Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, boys, I would love to have you along to one of our events and some VIP guests.
Yeah, we'd love to come. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Day and Sam Carson from Acai Brothers. Go check them out, get an acai bowl, but not 3 litres in your tummy.
Or maybe.
Or maybe the 3 litre challenge. Thanks, guys. This episode was brought to you by Nail It and Scale It, the world's leading fast growth program for business.
There you have it, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Unstoppable with me, your host, Kerwin Ray. And please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you get to see all of these interviews in the flesh. Share this podcast with your friends and drop me a review on iTunes. I would love to hear what you guys think, and also let you know your comments help make sure that we keep producing killer content just like this. And if you'd like to stay up to date with all of my movements, upcoming podcasts, events, and much more, please jump onto the website kerwinray.com, and also check us out on all social media on the handle @KerwinRay. Thanks for joining us.